I I'm out of shock. Something is going on. I don't know. I don't know if I'm being pranked or not, but I'm absolutely fundamentally shocked. Honestly, I'm surprised and shocked and delighted. I have not talked about this software in a while. I have not looked at any of the letters. I haven't paid attention. I have been just not cared. I haven't cared, but I'm still following accounts on X for Action Game Maker, and I have not paid attention. I haven't cared. I just the UI I tried on stream on stream. I tried using it. I had somebody who was more familiar with the software try to walk me through it, and I was lost. I got to a point where I was trying to set up the character movement and everything. It was like there's this input and stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea what I'm doing. Sorry for the noise. And so it got so frustrating. We gave up. I think we both gave up. The person who was trying to help me and myself, we gave up. It was done. It was so frustrating. Like I'm not a technical person, you know. I'm not a developer, technical programmer. I'm not that kind of person. I'm a simplistic guy who requires a simplistic user interface. And today, right now, this moment, I am blown away. I'm still following them on X and or Twitter, however you want to say it, and some stuff popped up, and I was like, "What? What? What is happening?" Like, I'm so shocked that the lead Morno seems to be listening, but it turned out I wasn't the only one fully frustrated with this. So I was look, I was on Twitter and it popped up and he goes, also producer Morno has released a new letter discussing what's coming up in version 1.4 and beyond. Godot 4.6, a new simplified UI for users that desire it and more. Year one set the foundation, so time to stretch our legs. I got a little I was a little unsure when I read that, and then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go take a look. Let's go take a look, and we'll read through it. And I already read through it, but I'm gonna read through it for you, and we will discuss. I will let you know what I'm thinking about. That is not the tab. Okay, so producer letter 19, first anniversary and future updates. This is insane. Action Game Maker's first anniversary and future updates. Hello, everyone. Moreno here. Moreno and Moreno here again. And as many of you know by now, I am the producer of Action Game Maker. Yes, we do. We know this. Thanks to the incredible support of our community, Action Game Maker officially celebrates its first anniversary, which is today, June 17th, 2026. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone in the community. Over the past year, there have been bugs, difficult to use features, and other uh, frictions and inconveniences. However, thanks to your reports and feedback, Action Game Maker has improved tremendously. Our official Discord server and community hub, the uh, the RPG Maker Guild, have also become valuable knowledge bases thanks to your contributions. Game development is now significantly easier compared to the early days and after release, thanks to everyone's efforts. As we work toward our second and third anniversaries, we will continue doing our best to improve the engine. We hope you will continue to show us your support as we work to make our tools even better to use. In this 19th producer letter, I would like to focus on our development roadmap and discuss the following: version 1.3, which released today, development plans for 1.4.0, our major development direction towards version 2.0, quote, usability. This is very interesting and worth the read. So, there are no major changes to the plans for version 1.4.0 compared to what was announced in Producer Letter 18. However, our direction for version 2.0 represents a major shift in our policy, so I would like to explain the reasoning behind it in detail. That comes later down. I'm going to go over this stuff because I found it interesting and cool, and if what he says further down is an actual thing that's going to happen, number one, $90 is, I'm not going to mind. I will pay the $90 if he does what he says he's going to do. Like I said early on when they announced the new Maker, that, and this is before I knew it was made with Godot and that they weren't going to mess with the UI and all this other ridiculousness. And then I just was like, oh, here recently, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll end up using it and leaving Pixel Game Maker behind. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. But I want to go over these new things that for 1.3.0, which I found was interesting. So about version 1.3.0, to have a bit of a surprise for our first anniversary, we decided to release version 1.3.0 without previously discussing its headline features in a producer letter. So let me take a moment to introduce the two major additions: custom action plugins and 3D backgrounds. So they have this thing now where, you know what, I'll just read it. The custom action plugin feature allows users to create original conditions and actions using GDScript. Last year, we introduced a feature that allowed GDScript methods to be used as conditions and actions. However, that system required users to attach scripts to child nodes and write code directly there, making it feel very much like a feature intended for advanced users. With the new system, users can simply place a plugin file somewhere within the project and it will automatically appear in the conditions and actions lists, where it can be used almost exactly like the built-in functions. This functionality was inspired by the plugin ecosystem used by the RPG Maker series. Our goal is to make it easy for users to share scripts and for beginners to use them without needing extensive programming knowledge. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sample scripts and creation guides will be published on the RPG Maker Guild. I don't like Guild. It's bad. It's just a terrible message board. It's not even a forum. It's like a weird message board. It's bad. It's very bad. That's why everybody's pissed off that RPG Maker web forum is going off. People don't like that. And people are jumping ship. A lot of people have gone over to rpgmaker.net and whatnot. That's neither here nor there. I'm kind of going off on a tangent a little bit here, but Maker Guild, not great. That the guild, their little forum in and of itself needs a lot of improvements. It's just bad. Additionally, the existing module sharing board on Guild has been renamed to the Module and Plugin Sharing Board. We hope you'll take advantage of this new feature and share your creations with the community. That's cool. I like that. That's cool. 3D backgrounds, man. 3D backgrounds. All right, this is why this is so cool. If you're like me and you're working on a Castlevania fan game, and you've ever played any Castlevania game, you know that you can put 3D objects in. That in Castlevania Symphony of the Night did this with like the clock tower area. When you're going by the clock tower in the background, going up to, they did it there, and also in Olroc's quarters. You go down to Olroc's quarters, and you go down in there, and there's like a village in the background, 3D models moving by. At least I think I'm sure they're 3D models. And the DS games had this too. Portrait of Ruin had it quite a bit, actually. If you go play Portrait of Ruin, when you go into that first painting, it goes off into this town or whatever. You start off in this area, and there's this building or cathedral or something in the background going by that's 3D. That's this. That's what this is. That's what this is. Another highly requested feature from our users has finally arrived: support for 3D backgrounds. Simply add a background layer 3D node, load a 3D model in the GLTF format, and configure the 3D camera position to easily add 3D backgrounds to your projects. Importantly, the 3D background camera 3D, automatically tracks the position of the active scene camera, allowing parallax scrolling effects to work naturally with minimal setup. However, it's also important to note that the 3D space is strictly a background layer and exists separately from the 2D background gameplay space. Sorry, I'm not speaking right here. As a result, scenarios such as giant 3D boss fights, 2D characters are not possible using this feature. Even if you're not interested in 3D development, we're also including a new shaders and HDR sample project that demonstrates how to create more modern and visibly impressive effects using our current 2D features. Whether you're working 2D or 3D, we hope you'll enjoy powerful visual capabilities that Godot Engine provides. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff they can do. Roadmap for version 1.4.0 and beyond. Next, I'd like to discuss our future update plans in more detail. Among the items mentioned in the previous producer letter, I'd like to elaborate on two topics: further performance improvements during object generation and an update to Godot 4.6. Performance improvements during object generation. We have received reports that generating objects can become slow, particularly when those objects contain large, complex visual scripts. We now have a clear path towards resolving this issue and have begun implementing a substantial fix. The root cause is that visual script resources were being copied whenever an object was initiated. We're going to say initiated. The performance costs of this process turned out to be significantly higher than originally anticipated because the resolution requires fundamental changes to how a visual script operate internally. Implementation will take some time. We currently expect this improvement to arrive later this summer. Update to Godot 4.6. As mentioned previously, Action GameMaker will be upgraded from Godot 4.4 to Godot 4.6.3. This update includes many bug fixes and improvements from a 2D development perspective. Two major changes stand out: Node UID support. What does this mean in practice? Actions that reference nodes, such as change property, will continue to function correctly even if you rename nodes or change their order in the scene tree. This is essentially the node equivalent of scene UID, which were introduced during our upgrade to Godot 4.4. 2. Update user interface. Here we go. The editor UI itself will be updated. While the overall layout remains familiar, several usability issues will be addressed. For example, the inspector will no longer become increasingly cramped and difficult to navigate as more sections are expanded. Overall, the interface will be easier to read and more comfortable to use. These improvements are highly beneficial, but as noted above, every action that references nodes, including features such as change property, must be updated to work with the new node UID system. As a result, this upgrade will require considerable work, and we currently expect it to be released this autumn or fall. Here we go. Towards version 2.0, usability. This is where it gets interesting, and this is where I'm sitting here going, no crap. No, really? Really? You gotta sit down and back a little bit. Now I'd like to discuss something entirely new. At the beginning of this year, or letter, sorry, at the beginning of this letter, I mentioned that our direction is changing slightly. This is what I was referring to. In our early producer letters, we stated that we would not modify Godot's user interface. However, as we move towards version 2.0, we have decided to pursue deep user experience improvements and will include changes to the UI itself. There are several reasons for this decision. First, more users than expected found Godot's interface difficult to understand. No, really? Really? I knew this was going to happen. Second, even users who successfully learned the interface often found certain aspects of Action GameMaker inconvenient despite the level of functionality available. So after a year of stability improvements, we now have the resources necessary to focus on UI and UX enhancements. From an engineer's perspective, Godot's UI is extremely logical. See, this was my problem. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technical person. So it's not logical to me. It's frustrating. It's off-putting. It makes me not want to use it. It makes me not care about it. There's also this deep learning curve, and I know I already learned everything in Pixel Game Maker, which I'm really hoping they pull inspiration from, but I don't know yet. Extremely logical. Everything is organized according to clear technical structures. Properties are categorized consistently, and all available settings are exposed through the inspector. However, that same structure can feel unintuitive and inefficient from a non engineer's perspective, a non technical person. That's the complaint I had early on. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a technical person. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a AAA developer. I'm not any. It's not how my brain functions. I can't. I couldn't cope with it. It is dreadful. Um, Everything's through expector. However, the same structure can feel unintuitive and inefficient from a non-engineer's perspective. Consider the process of creating a tile set. And he's right about this. Add a tile map layered node in the upper left panel. Configure the tile size and collision settings in the right side inspector. Import tile graphics using the lower left and lower center panels. Switch tabs in the lower center panel to begin placing tiles. Why is there so many steps like that? Why all over the place like that? If you've used Pixel Game Maker, which you probably haven't, but if you've watched me use it, tile sets are easy. You go to a resource section, you set up your tiles, right? You can set up your assets, grids, all that kind of thing. Then you go into the tile set section. It's in a tab. Like that's all they got to do is add something like that. And you go over to it and then you set up things in there by selecting it and then drawing it. It's not stuck at the bottom. Like, why is the tile set stuck at the bottom like that? Why? Like, why is it in this little cramped, ugly area? Like, I really loved how Pixel Game Maker and even RPG Maker does it, where it's off to the side, it's stretched out, it's big, it's easy to find. Or for that matter, why not just have a pop-out window off to the side where you can select what you're doing and just have something you can really stretch out and look at all your tiles and everything you're doing. I don't know. I just feel like there should be something easier that can be done here. Holy moly. My goodness. Uh, to an engineer, this workflow makes perfect sense. Create a node, define its data structure, configure it, and assign resources. But from the perspective of a typical creator, it may seem unnecessarily complicated. Why should creating a single tile set require interactions across 4 different editor panels and 4 separate steps? Exactly. Over the past year, we've come to appreciate that one of the strengths of the RPG Maker products was their ability to hide this kind of engineering complexity and present workflows in a straightforward, approachable manner. This is our declaration that we are now fully committed to improving the UI and user experience. We'll discuss specific plans and examples in the next producer letter. However, I'd like to address some concerns that users may already have. The challenges of modifying Godot's UI, some features may become less accessible. Making the interface simpler requires making decisions about which elements should be surfaced and which should be hidden. We will carefully balance usability and flexibility, but some Godot engine functionality may become less directly accessible through the simplified interface. Future Godot updates may require additional work. Any UI customizations we make must be maintained and updated as Godot continues to evolve through version 4.6, 4.8, and beyond, whichever ones they jump to. For example, we may create a one-click tile set setup workflow only for Godot itself to later redesign its tile system, requiring us to update our implementation. Many users may understandably be concerned about this point. To address this, we plan to allow users to freely switch between the standard Godot interface and the new Action Game Maker interface at any time. This means advanced users will retain access to full Godot experience whenever they want it. closing remarks. That's all for this producer letter. Even though we celebrate our first year, Action Game Maker is still only at the beginning of its journey. We will continue working as hard as possible towards version 2.0 and beyond. Thank you, as always, for your continued support. I wish that would have been an initial thing. I wish that had been initial. I wish that had been there from the start. That's just me. And what they're suggesting is probably the best course of action. Okay. It's probably the course of action that needs to be taken. What I think is going to happen and what it sounds like is you basically have an overlaying UI that's simpler and easier to understand for a lot of folks like dummies like me. And then you'll be able to switch to the other one. So you'll be able to, I wouldn't say this is actually changing the UI. It sounds more like you're making a separate UI that's more easy to understand, that you can then switch to the more complex UI if needed, if you need to make some fine tuning that's just not available at surface level. This is what I really wish they would have done from the beginning. But from the beginning, it didn't sound like they wanted to do this at all. It was very frustrating to me, frustrating to a lot of people, it sounds like. You notice he mentions RPG Maker. The RPG Maker series has been so easy. It's so easy. I don't know about the latest Maker. I don't know how that's going to turn out. The U2U. I'm a little iffy about that. But when it comes to the way it's being presented here in his opinions, it sounds like he really wants to bring the Maker series ease of use into 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 the light, at the forefront. That's what it needs to be. And I wish they could have done it from the beginning, but it does sound like they wanted to focus on core engine stuff at first. Maybe there was a plan all along to do this. I'm speculating, but I don't think there was. I think they genuinely thought that everybody would understand this Maker, that the way they're presenting it in Godot, and that they would jump into it. And that's why I was confused at the beginning, because I'm like, who is this for? Are you trying to appeal to, I don't think it's appealing to Godot users. They thought it would appeal to Godot users, is what they thought. Godot users are very technical. They're very smart. They're programmers. They're going to make with base, they're going to use base Godot. They might come up with some flowchart thing to simplify things just a little bit. But other than that, no. No, you were never going to well, I wouldn't say never, but I'm sure you didn't appeal to a lot of Godot users. They thought Godot users would jump on board and buy the software. And all they did was end up alienating a lot of longtime users. It's a frustrating piece of software. I've tried several demos and I just could not for the life of me do it. I'm sorry this video is so long. There was a lot to go over. But holy moly, that was painful. It's so painful that I wanted to look for another Maker. I wanted to go to something else. I didn't want to go to Action Game Maker. I wanted something with a more simpler UI. Like, I just wanted to get away from that. You have to consider your consumers. You have to consider your base. Who is your base? Who's your core base? Who do you want to make money off of? Like, I will pay this price tag. I mean, it's a lot of money, but I will pay at some point when I have the money. When I have the money, I will pay the, I guess, 90 something dollars to get this software if they present a UI to me that I want to use. It's probably not going to be available until like early next year. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to actually use this. I wanted to use it. When they announced it, I wanted to use it, but I got into it and I was so frustrated. Another thing I would like to suggest to them is some way to set up barriers and whatnot for the camera and the player and whatnot in the stages. Like, there's no easy way to do that. There's no simple way to do it like in Pixel Game Maker. That's something else that was very off-putting. Like, what are you doing? What is this? So they need to do this. This is surprising. I thought they were headstrong against it. I thought they were not going to mess with UI, not even make a. It sounds to me like they're going to do like kind of like what was done with Unity and RPG Maker Unite. You could still get to the Unity engine UI and everything underneath the RPG Maker Unite thing. You could, And it sounds like they're taking that route, but this is Godot, not Unite, so there's not as much bad stuff surrounding it, you know? So, um, I'm happy and pleasantly surprised. How long ago did this pop up, actually? It doesn't say when this popped up. 16:10 p.m. Oh, wow, this was hours ago, and I didn't know about it. I did not know about it. Holy moly. So I was I'm so genuinely surprised and shocked to see them finally go, okay, yeah, we got to fix this. This is not working out. I don't think it's selling as well as they were hoping it would. And I think people, if it was the product it needed to be, people wouldn't mind paying the price tag. I wouldn't have mind paying the price tag. It's only a little more than the Pixel Game Maker was. It was like 70 something. This one's like $20 more, give or take. Yeah, 80 something to 90 something. It's not much more. It's not much more. I think it was 70 something. And I would have happily paid this difference when I had the money if it was still something I could understand, something I could grasp, something that wouldn't frustrate me, something that wouldn't make me just distance myself from it. It was so frustrating. I stuck with Pixel Game Maker and I do things in that. And it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun nor intuitive. RPG Makers, Pixel Game Maker, those are fun and intuitive. Action Game Maker from the start was not fun and intuitive, and I tried every time they had a demo period. There was nothing fun or intuitive about it. I want to have fun when I'm developing something. I have fun using RPG Maker. I have fun using Pixel Game Maker. I don't have fun using Action Game Maker. I don't have fun using Godot. The UI user interface is not simple for a guy like me. I'm not a professional freaking developer. I had people come in before that I had to ban from the channel who came in just giving me crap about it because they didn't understand the concept. They didn't understand that this software was meant for what I thought was meant for an audience that has been using the Maker series for so long. RPG Maker and then Pixel Game Maker. I thought that's what this software was supposed to be for, but then it started to feel more like they were trying to appeal to Godot users. Wasn't going to happen. And that was frustrating. So I didn't want to use it, and I complained constantly about it. It turns out I wasn't alone, and I had a feeling I wouldn't be alone. There were a lot of other people, and they were frustrated with it. I was not alone. And I think they saw it. Sales are not going too well. We need to make some changes here. This is not how it works. Now, once they get that new UI out and open out in there, and there's a demo period, and I try it, if I like it, I probably will if they do what I think they're fixing to do. Then hell yeah, you were gonna see me buy this software and promote this software. My problem has always been the UI, and for those fools who didn't get the problem here, you didn't get it because you're used to using things that are more complex. You're used to using things like Godot. You're used to all this kind of technical stuff. Okay, then then it wasn't meant at first to be for you. Like if you're so technical and used to this kind of crap, use actual Godot on its own. Use whatever, but respect the fact that I and many others were frustrated with it. And there are people came into my chat, came into my comments who didn't grasp this or didn't care to grasp it and just wanted to be dill holes. And I still don't know. Like intuitiveness and ease of use and fun of use is key to the Maker series. And I hope they figured this out, and I hope they're actually going to go into making it something that I personally am going to want to use. Rate, comment, subscribe. This has been an ordeal. Didn't mean to go this long. Have a good one.